Well, good evening, everybody watching Old Guy Tech TV, in which now we're calling to make those who seem to be offended by the word old or old guy or old guy tech. News 44 TV is also our channel, so we are going to call this show of Opinion versus Opinion on News 44 TV. So thank you for joining us at our new time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And hopefully this gives you an opportunity to eat your dinner and relax, pop a beer if you'd like, whatever, your favorite adult beverage, right?
And chew the cud with us.
So we are going to make an, unfortunately, folks, we have a technical issue again with our phone system equipment that we paid pretty good money for. So we're going to keep working on it. Shut up, John. Anyway, we'll keep on working on it. But tonight there will be no calls. Sorry for those of you that I know waited and just couldn't wait to call in.
Tell me that.
Yeah, like last week, like no calls and we could take people. So anyway, in my emails out to you all in Cyberland there, we talked about a few headlines that we want to talk about, or at least mumble about or something. And on the tech side of things, let's talk about the Department of Homeland Security is saying at this point in time, 40% of cyber attacks are targeted to our energy sector. In other words, the grid. The energy sector was the largest of more than 40% of all the reported cyber attacks and critical. John just held up something to me and says, "Wheeze is old." Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Critical infrastructure networks last year, according to Homeland Security. So, as last year it was 40%, my guess is it's going even higher now. And so far, they haven't managed to take down a grid, thank goodness, but it's coming.
Oh, we're vulnerable as hell. I mean, that's an issue for me. And I started to write a blog on this the other night, and I'm still wading through it. I ponder and go, Though I am a Keynesian and I believe that self-confidence is the greatest asset any country has, which is why Keynes contends that the government spends money to bolster people's self-confidence. Is the WPA approach of now some over 70 years ago really the solution? Have we not evolved to the point where the infrastructure that needs help? Folks, if you don't think our grid is vulnerable, we've had brownouts here in California. We're going to be asked to cut back this summer, no doubt it. We've had blackouts and brownouts on the East Coast. It is an old woman, and it just don't flow like it used to, and it's certainly not up to date. I can imagine if you were going to target that could seriously impact the United States, affecting our electrical grid. It could. All those people with electric cars, not so handy, are
they? So handy when you don't have power. So I bet there's some of our audience that doesn't know what WPA is. Why don't you explain that?
Work project. It was the Department of Work Projects during the Depression.
That's right. That's
in the
what
1930s, before we got in a good old war in 41.
That was one of the things that we talked about last week. It was my thing about let's put people back to work again, and right. I'm all for seeing that our power grid system gets updated and protected and isolated, and so that if one grid goes down, it doesn't take the next 12 in line with it, which it tends to do.
But part of the issue here that you really have to look into, and this brings back our oligarchy. Our corporate viewpoint, and I bring this up in economics class all the time, that when you and I were young lads, the utilities were public. They were publicly owned monopolies, because economically it makes sense for utility providers to be publicly owned monopolies, and in essence be a nonprofit. They get charged what it costs to run you. Now we very stupidly in California and across the nation have privatized utility companies. So these grid issues have profit margins built into them. Is it, do we want to upgrade? Right, there are business decisions to be made, which is why in a more perfect economic world, public utilities remain publicly owned monopolies. All right. So now to do this grid thing back in WPA, and I mean the Work Projects Administration, that was during, but they also built the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, and a whole system of dams and
Right.
hydroelectric that still is functional to this day.
Absolutely.
These were, but we had just put in Social Security, was a new nation, and we held utilities as public monopolies. Now they are private businesses.
Well,
So this is what I meant. What I was thinking about is it is a different world. So I don't know that a public solution, i.e., the government, stepping in to be the one that brings the solution, because the problem is so large and so grave. But it's not a matter of them dealing with other bureaucracies called local government, state government. They're dealing with private for-profit businesses that now own the utilities.
Well, part of the issue, at least with the TVAs, it would have never happened now because of all the environmental impact studies.
Oh, dams are bad ideas.
the-
That notwithstanding, I mean,
Oh, you couldn't get a ban. I don't think there's a
dam
new.
should come down. It should go away.
There hasn't been a new dam project, as far as I know, in the last 20 years of
In our
any
country.
consequence.
But we do have to look after the dams that we have, because they'll fall down,
Yeah, think.
flood people out.
Yeah.
Well, Hoover
But
Dam is still
as to the
curing.
issue of the electrical grid, it is no longer publicly owned.
Okay, so
Therefore,
we got an
I
issue.
don't know
Let's
that the
break this
government
down.
can directly impact the rebuilding of that infrastructure unless, and I think what we need across the board, you find a simpatico between government and private enterprise, which is like putting apples and oranges, or
so-
cats and dogs together.
We
to get it
we
done.
did all these bailouts. We did these wonderful bailouts to all these companies, to a number of energy solar companies that went belly up, and we spent all this huge money. And then we had Enron. That's correct, isn't it? Isn't that one that was went down, tanked
Yeah, but
everything,
Enron-
right?
Enron
was a Ponzi
almost
scheme to begin
20
with.
years ago.
Yeah, that was a Ponzi scheme to begin with. And
There is recorded evidence that they being in Texas, wanted to punish people in California, and they did. Right? That's the problem with privately owned utilities,
yeah,
and not
I
publicly owned utilities.
I really, this is where my fence sitting, from being conservative to whatever's on the other side, I just drove me crazy that they privatized the energy. I mean, that was one of the things that, again, silly me, maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but it didn't seem like a very good idea, and I think it's proving out to be the point.
Well, it just said smart meters. I mean, as Southern California, Edison, where I live, has smart meters on everybody's phone.
We have it
Took away jobs from meter readers, right?
Yeah, we have it here. We've got smart.
And they all have an FCC license on them because they broadcast
Yep.
real-time information from your house to the privately owned utility. One's power usage patterns can be very indicative, right?
Oh,
I
yes,
mean,
depending on large swings in usage.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that maybe you can't detect it any other way, and that's not the only. But just in general, it is an intrusion into your home and a broadcast signal of information that should be private between you and the utility, is your usage and whatever. It can be subpoenaed, right, as evidence if they think there's something nefarious,
Right.
and they can. But the fact of the matter is, it's broadcast in real time to a private company,
Yes.
and who owns that
It's a
information?
good question.
And then again,
I have
like
nothing to
we
worry
talked
about. Go ahead, read my meter all you want. Just save me some money. But anyway, we got way off topic.
Well,
Sorry.
Okay, all right. We want to go on, Jonathan.
I was
But
going to say the only thing with public
you
funding.
never love producers on the air.
Yeah. I was going to say the only thing about public funding is look what the government did to the post office.
Well,
They
no,
defunded
no,
it.
Yeah, that's a
look what
quasi-
the government did to
yeah.
the post office. They've been borrowing money out of the post office and bankrupted them. And it definitely, the vote was floated today that we shan't get rid of Saturday service from the USPS.
We're not going to.
And part of this is a chicanery
I thought it was a done deal.
that became available for Congress to use funds from the post office.
Right.
Now, that's not to say, and part of our problem at the moment, where people say entitlements and all, we used to have a system where we thought it was important, if you worked for a company, to have a pension plan and have something to fall back on if you gave them 25 years of service or whatever. That's no longer the model. And people that we,
Yeah.
out of convenience and times of big money, gave people glorious benefits, we now have to pay them. And without corporations loosening, I think it's $3 trillion that's in the bank. It isn't going to happen. And yeah, we did get off topic, but the reason we got off topic was the fact that to fix the grid infrastructure, which is being cyber attacked,
Yeah, I think
is the problem. Is I don't know that the government, which is what our current administration says it wants to do and can't get funding for, I don't know that the 1930s solution is a new millennium solution to the problem. Either you privatize it again, or you have to find new ways
Right.
to strike compromise with private industry that has a completely different goal and completely different model to satisfy than public utilities do.
Well, I think the first problem with energy is going to be that the Obama administration is looking for green energy. That being said, that's going to be the first hurdle, is what green energy is useful and what is not.
Okay, so again, so way off topic here, but
see,
it never did make sense to me. Let's use food for fuel.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all of that, because all of that is acceptable to some sort of, whether you're talking about wind energy, solar energy, or you're talking about, the corn. That's been their whole
Ethanol is not going to fly in the long term because it's not cost efficient.
It's not cost efficient. Not only that,
it burns through rings.
I mean, the amount of growing lands. There's a better way of putting this, but I'm not doing a good job. The amount of acreage available to grow food, let's look at it that way, has been shrinking seriously by cities that are encroaching on the rural areas and spreading out and making those wonderful neighborhoods. Right? But just let me finish. Okay. So we have a situation there, and our exporting of food is only keeping pace by the fact that technology has allowed us to get better production per acre of ground, in many cases using genetically altered products, which now are coming into question as well.
Yield, not quantity,
Yep.
or quantity, not quality.
And you're right, and that's it. So, wow. Okay, I'm going to bring this back to cyber attacks. Let's get back to the internet and what these bad boys are trying to do. So, apparently, and this is nothing new. They've been attacking the power grids for a long time. There's been proven attacks on a number of the nuclear facilities that we have in this country, attempting to break into the system. Fortunately, in some respects, most of those are what's called sandboxed. That's meaning there is no direct outside link into the control panel at the nuclear facility. So you find other ways to bring in ill will to your network, such as building in chips into printers or whatever that are shipped to that facility and then is hooked to the network. Which, by the way, we did that to Iran. Why do you think all their centrifuges went awry?
Oh yeah. I mean, it is, and as somebody, this is I saw this program. It might have been a Frontline on PBS. It definitely was PBS. But this is back when I lived in LA, which is coming on 30 years back that I left. So a long time ago. But they said that the quantification of society in the future was going to be information. Can you afford to have high-speed cable? Can you afford to have a computer? Will you do Skype? And the next war is going to be fought out here. And the issue and what we're going to be fighting over is information.
Yep. Well, that's back to a few weeks ago when we talked about countries controlling your background.
I can fix that if you want me.
The hell with it. The countries controlling the access to the internet. We talked about that in depth a couple of weeks ago. And you're right. I mean, controlling information, that is where the war is going on now. The white hats and the black hats, and our ability to get the best and the brightest on the good side, battling the baddest and the brightest on the bad side, and many of it country sponsored.
Well, no, I mean, because it's at the end of the day, bright people about technology and innovative people about technology are available everywhere. There's technology now. Part of, and I don't know if we've discussed this before, but in my writing of this blog, you have to realize when production goes offshore, so does R&D. And what has been our bailiwick for decades is our ability to innovate and come up with new products and new processes, etc. You can't do that if you're not making the stuff. That innovation leaves with the production.
A little tough to keep. How do we keep secrets? Let's say, the military is making electronics and things, and where are they getting it from? They're getting it from China. So how do we keep the technology that's over there being made that we don't want them to have?
It's a ridiculous thing. I mean, it's why Apple, we've got to bring that production home.
Yeah, we do.
There's no security in outsourcing.
Yeah.
This, again, to me, is an MBA solution. We can get cheaper labor over there. It's cheaper labor, so our bottom line's going to... And this is a mantra I'm going to add in while we get into this whole deal. Again, and I'll verify the figure, which I didn't have time to do this week. I do believe there are $3 trillion sitting in the war chest of American corporations. And because of their insecurity about the market, they won't invest in the United States. And I really don't care if you're General Motors and we bailed you out. The fact of the matter is they're making money in India, they're making money in China, that's right, they're a multinational now, and that money doesn't have to come back to the United States. Where is the responsibility of American business to reinvest in America when they need the investment? We need the jobs. We need to work together to innovate ways to make things here again, to take back some production, to bring back but where are these American corporations that are sitting on the money but not spending it?
Yeah, we need them, the philanthropists actually that own these companies or own the majority of the shares or whatever, to take a look at what they're doing. They got to answer to their shareholders. It's bottom line, profit. But
their shareholders, for the most part, are Americans as well. Why aren't we making the demand to say, okay, I need to make a profit? This is where we have this growing disparity, and where I talk about humanity. But the problem of it is they've got to say, wait a minute, my country's dying while I'm becoming a gazillionaire. Is that what I want?
Well, hopefully we're seeing little glimpse of things coming back. Apple has announced, of course, a great big facility, I believe in Texas. They got the ability to do that. I'm talking about a huge $1 trillion facility they're going to be building to bring most of it back to the United States. Some of the other some of the other companies are starting to bring fab facilities back for special things like the military, because military finally decided we have too many Chinese chips in our F-16s. There's time that we do something different. So there's glimmers. There's little bits of hope that we're going to be able to stimulate the employment market some and get some of this manufacturing back in the country. And what made us so, like you mentioned so rightly, made us so great was our ability to innovate. We would come up with the ideas, we would design them, we would patent them, and then everything, of course, is stolen. Chinese copied everything, Russians copied everything, Indians copied everything.
It's a global economy. So, but we still need, in my opinion, to take back the position of innovator in chief. And this is not something that has happened in just purely in the Obama administration, because nobody could blow it down the tubes in 4 or 5 years. It's been going on. We've been outsourcing. We've been letting people rent. And a gentleman wrote a book about 2 years ago, and he was a professor at one of the big business schools. And he just took them to school that they teach no ethics. All they teach is profit. And that you have no social responsibility. The robber barons were philanthropists. They invested in America while they took all your money. Henry Ford made sure to pay the people that worked for him enough money to buy a Ford. At the end of the day, folks, that's all I'm asking.
Yep.
That you should be having a job that you can afford to buy what you sell.
No, I can't disagree with that.
It's not disagreeable. I mean, I don't think I'm, terribly right, but the bottom line is that's what we need to do, and I say to you, and nobody in politics is talking that kind of a solution.
Well, a little bit. But you're right, the majority are not. But I really am starting to see a little bit of some of it coming back. And like I said, with Apple's announcement, Cisco has talked about some of this stuff now. HP, God, who knows what HP is going to do? They've screwed themselves up so bad it was unbelievable.
One of the best companies in America to work for.
Yeah, and they just, we're not going to make PCs anymore. What?
Why'd you start making them in the first place? You made the best printer on the market.
Yep.
I mean, you went to buy a printer. You could find an HP printer in just about any price range there was. You could buy it and go home, and it was like the gold standard.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know specialization is a limit, but
look
what Xerox did with the document business.
Xerox. Poor Xerox.
Who was also one of the best companies
at one time
in the country to work for.
Yeah, of course, Xerox could have been Apple if they had done it right, but they didn't, or Microsoft.
I don't think that their vision was there to become Apple. The desire might have been there, the kernel of the idea, but I don't.
It was the R&D. They had the R&D, and they said, "Hey, look, we invented this stuff. Hey, Steve Jobs. Hey, Bill Gates, come on over here. Come take a look at this. Check this out. Look what we're doing." But we didn't patent it. But I want to show it to you.
Well, since Paul and David are brothers, two friends of ours, you can imagine with Paul working for Xerox that in David's office, all the word processing devices were from the Big X.
Yeah.
But that didn't last long.
No, it didn't.
Anyway.
There were some really, really poor decisions made by some companies and some brilliant decisions made by others. So, anyway, should you lose sleep over tonight about the fact that the power grid may go down? Shit, who knows? Maybe it'll be like one of those new TV series that's out where all the power goes away. I don't care anymore.
Well, but the only problem is, Rob, there's a better chance that somebody will hack our power grid than the outfall landslide will happen on Kilauea in Hawaii, and then we don't need to worry about that to happen. So, be that as it may. How about Obama and his best-looking Attorney General?
I like that one.
Come on. Well,
And you know what? He wasn't wrong. She probably is the best-looking Attorney General, but probably not the most.
She's a nice-looking woman.
PC thing to say.
And I would rather he do that than have oral sex with Monica Lewinsky or most of our presidents. I think Nixon or Ford is when we ended having a philanderer as a president. They all, FDR had a mistress, hadn't slept with Eleanor in forever and a day. Jack definitely slept with Jackie, but it's pretty much common knowledge now. He was sleeping with anything else he could sleep with as well. So, I'd rather he say it's a nice looking woman
I'm assuming that he is not a Clinton and doesn't have his own version of Monica.
Have you seen his wife? She'd kill him. There ain't enough Secret Service on the planet.
I wonder how she really, really felt about him making these statements. It's not the first time. This is the first time that there's been a number of women's groups that have talked about the fact that he tends to wink and touch and rub and all the good-looking women, and
my friend, if you probably don't remember the story of Emmett Till. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old African-American boy that lived in Chicago, and for some ungodly reason, his family thought it would be good for him to go to Mississippi in August and pick some cotton to figure out, maybe to teach him. But this was a personable, pretty dang good kid. Anyway, he made the mistake of whistling at a white woman.
That's right.
In Mississippi, and it was beat to a pulp and thrown in the river. And they finally found him, and you could make an arm's length long of end jokes, and that were made at the time. And the two bulls that did him, finally, after they were acquitted, admitted and put their story in Look magazine that they killed him, and they told him exactly what they did. We are a wonderful country of freedoms. Under double jeopardy, they could not be tried again. So, when you say that Obama, will wink, touch, make these comments, I mean, you got to realize that within our lifetime, an African-American man that did that at the wrong place at the wrong time could be a dead person very easily. So,
okay, point taken.
And the thing of it is, I heard Michelle address this, the First Lady, and she said, "Hey, my husband's a healthy, virile American man," and I would want him to say if he saw if you see an attractive woman, that's a nice looking woman. Is that a lie?
Yeah, but is that really the point? I think the point that's being brought up is the fact that it puts women in a different class. Now instead of the fact that she's a great attorney general, she's the best looking attorney general. Well, a lot of the women's groups find that to be disparaging and not the right thing to say and not PC. I think that's where that argument comes.
I suppose, although I haven't heard that much from the tight Birkenstock ladies.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I have. I've been as I was studying this.
It's wrong.
As I was studying this, I wanted to see exactly what was behind it, and the majority of what's behind it is the thought of the glass ceiling and the fact that women's groups are tired of being looked at as sexual beings. And they don't want it to be used in the job world, and they should only be judged on the position they hold or their ability to do their job properly, and not the fact that they're a good-looking female.
Then we're all screwed up. I mean, but we've already
you just figured that out.
The issue of it is, if you can't, as a healthy human being, comment that, hey, that's a good-looking guy, or hey, that's a nice-looking woman, or worse than that in the final analysis. I mean, come on, we are human beings. Some of this political correctness, I got no time for. I mean, it's like, oh, come on, get over it.
Boy, I know someone would be on you like white on rice. Oh, did I say that? I didn't.
Oh, no, and they have been on me like white on rice, and I've been on them
they would
like
be so on you
with chicken livers in it. I mean, come on,
I
understand civility if it's leering and lechingly said, but.
We go from one extreme to another. I understand exactly where they're coming from, and I certainly make it my point. Of course, she may be the best-looking woman in the world, but if she's doing a job and it's the job that I'm interested in, I don't want to make that part of why I'm doing business with a person. And unfortunately, too many people do that. But you want somebody that does the job right and could care less what they look like. Just make sure that they're doing the job properly, and that's the point here.
At the same time, okay. And I say this, and it's sexist, all right? And I'll be the first one to admit it. But if I owned a business and I had a receptionist out front, I would want her to be attractive. And I would also want her to be a good receptionist, which is not an easy job to do well in a busy place. Um, but you put a pretty face on it, and you'll attract more people. Be that as it may.
I agree with you. I understand because
there's study upon study
Yep.
that we are attracted to. People that are more attractive get more breaks.
Yep.
These are facts.
They are
Human nature.
I
So
don't
to say
disagree
that a
with you
woman
at
or a
all,
man
John.
is
You're absolutely right.
attractive.
It's in our DNA. Okay, I mean that's how we propagate. That's why we propagate. You find somebody exciting, beautiful, attractive. That's just part of it.
And I really don't want to breed that out of us. That's okay.
Well, maybe I think India needs to work on that. They should all be ugly. Slow down that population a little bit.
Well,
China, they should all be ugly. I'm
You
sorry.
have a million people.
There's some
you
countries out there, John, that should not be reproducing at the rate they are.
now you do stir my liberal streak and my slight PC. I have no animosity towards anyone, except maybe in the Philippines. We all harbor. There's not everybody likes everybody and everything.
No.
That's a fact.
You know what do they say? There's somebody for everybody. That's what they say, right?
Well, not for me, but that's another conversation we don't have to get into.
Not on the air. I don't. But anyway, so we were talking about. So Obama apologized for it. Big deal. It's done. I don't really. You want to know what the sad part was? Is that I didn't even realize she was our Attorney General.
You and me both, brother.
So what does that show
and
you?
I must have voted for her.
Did she run on a? I'm embarrassed to say, I don't even remember who ran for that office.
Unfortunately, my friend, you know what it is? I have gotten to the point, unless it's something that stirs me or I feel I need to speak out on, I usually don't vote in local, state, and local elections. I just don't do it, which is wrong. Because you're gonna love this one. This one.
There we go. Let's go.
All right. Whereas the biggest issue, okay, for you on gun legislation is the fact that states are the ones, in lieu of the government, like Connecticut, California already, and others, Colorado, have come out with extremely stringent gun laws. Okay. More stringent than the federal government will ever be. All right, but I could get off on a tangent there, but I'm not. But and ALEC and all of these state level organizations. I mean, the attacks on the unions in Wisconsin, the issues in Florida. Republicans own more governorships than Democrats do, and they're grassroots making a change. You guys are. And your concern is what the states are doing, because the states are passing crazy restrictive gun laws.
Yep.
On the other hand, states are also passing laws that preclude a woman from availing herself of an abortion, which is legal to get in this country.
Right.
And there are 4 states where it is impossible for a woman to get an abortion. And so the issue, and part of the divisiveness in the country, is that the Republican Party may own the Congress, but they're obstructive, okay? And the Democrats may control the Senate, but they're ineffective, because you have to work together to get something done. But where things are happening, and where we have to be aware of, and I have to take more time myself to look at, is on the state level. Because the changes are coming on the state level that don't happen nationally. It's like targeted by.
Well, it's kind of like we talked about election night. The issue of I've always made it a point to. I think it starts all the way down on the school board level. Okay, from school boards to supervisors to city council people.
Oh yeah.
To judges. I mean, you won't believe the amount of people that don't even know that they vote for judges.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and it's amazing. many years ago, I was supporting a candidate. I would go out and knock on doors and walk on streets and try to help get this particular person elected because I felt very strongly about this particular person. And El Dorado County, and you know this, John, it's a very strange county. It's one of the larger ones in California, but it goes from South Lake Tahoe all the way down to Folsom. And what we found really interesting was in the area of El Dorado Hills, people actually didn't know what county they lived in.
Oh, no, and I lived there for 12 years, and I always got confused with El Dorado, and which was Placer County and El Dorado County were like, which?
Yeah.
Placerville is in El Dorado County.
Right.
And
why isn't it in Placer County? Yeah, right. No, yeah.
Right, and then the one on the other end of 50 is in Placer County. What is it? Auburn?
Auburn. Yep.
On the other end of Highway 50 from Placerville.
And it's really weird as you start going towards Rockland and Lincoln, and you got Sutter County on. I don't know. It's weird. But if I lived in that particular area, I make sure I know what county I live in.
Well, and the fact of the matter is I know what county I live in. I always have, because there's county government, there's county supervisors, there's city. I mean, it is all government. It is all the bureaucracy. I had a young African American student today because we got into it about guns and stuff in sixth period, and he was concerned about term limits. And I
wise
said,
young man.
That is an issue of the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's a two-edged sword.
Congress hasn't declared war because it would be unpopular with the voting population, and they got to stand for election every 2 years. What media has done is it has shrunk the tenure of anybody's term.
Yeah, true.
And made it just phenomenally expensive because we allow PACs, super PACs. There's bottom line. I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, too much money. Too much money in politics.
There is, and I don't have an answer for this, but I have helped run a number of campaigns, and the amount of money needed to raise to run for something as simple as a supervisor in a county is unbelievable. And let's go into moving into the big cities. Can you imagine what it costs to run for mayor of Los Angeles, New York, Chicago? I mean, we're talking millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars.
I have an idea, and I still think it's a good idea. Public funding. If you're a president, you get like $10 million, and that's it. If you run out, no more.
Your idea is not new.
$1 in.
And see, I like that. No private funds. If they find out they're using private funds, they get fined the money they have, and I say do that. Then it's about issues instead about the fact that Obama raised this much money and Romney raised this much money.
Interesting enough, I think because of the medium that we're on, if everybody out there anybody's watching us, but the media we are on, in many respects, has helped reduce the expense of doing things like running for office, because here you go, you get a website, you get emailers going, you get stuff, and you can control the expenses. But yet to this day, the polling that's being done and is showing, I know a couple of pollsters, and they're saying, you won't believe this, people still rely on that stupid flyer that comes in the mail, that is a flyer only put together by dollars, because you will have Democrats and Republicans both on the same flyer saying we're endorsed by the Democratic Party, we're endorsed by the Republican Party, all on the same flyer. And one will go to Democrats, one will go to Republicans, and people just don't take the time to really know. They look at this and they said, oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote my platform. And that's it. Well, guess what? They could be looking at a sheet that's actually put out by the Republicans.
By the Republicans.
Yeah.
I know that in the last election, I think it was down in Los Angeles, and it was a statewide. It was not a big office.
Yeah.
And there was a piece of print material there, and having produced that and designed that, and had been in the creative process of putting together direct mail or in hand objects, I was stunned
Yeah.
because, of course, graphics have become, because of the computer, graphics have become cheaper. But I mean, this thing had cuts and layovers, and I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it was, I mean, that dude in the envelope was $1.50
More.
all
Well,
by itself.
yeah. And of course, let alone the cost of postage. I mean, many organizations, small groups, whatever. Let's say you have like I spoke at the Sons of the American Revolution group here. They asked me to come and talk, and I came and talked to them. And the expense, they're a small group. They like to keep in touch, and the expense to send mailers out to everybody was just more than the dues that they were bringing in. So they can't. Fortunately, there's email, and it's made. People that give it the ability to get out more information quickly and cheaper. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I will tell you. I will tell you, and I will tell you that, the racing operation that I'm involved with here in Bakersfield has an event that 30,000 people come to 2 times a year. To my knowledge, they don't database people coming in the door. I know the national sanctioning organization does, but the locals do not database 30,000 people that come to their door every year.
And so they're throwing away hundreds of thousands of dollars just because they're not doing that, huh?
Now they do Facebook, they do, they've gotten to that. But my issue is no message is a better message than a personal message. And our email boxes are as bad, if not, I mean,
Yes.
I don't get email. I mean, I get an email from you.
Yep.
But I don't get I don't send email like I used to. I'm not doing business with email like people do now. Who would post a letter to someone?
True.
That's
Spam has caused the biggest problem with email, because email is, and we touched about this before too when we talked about encryption. I mean, there is something about physically writing a letter and mailing it today. It seems to have, maybe it feels more personal or something. I mean, even I was kind of upset at a local merchant for not supporting something I thought they should support. And so instead of sending an email, I literally sat down, wrote a letter, put it in the mail.
Oh, by the way,
I hope they read it.
Well, I don't know, but at least I felt better because I took my personal time and money to mail this letter to hopefully help them. I was hoping to help them with it instead of standing. That's the problem we're having with all this email. We're getting emails to death, and we're either sharing too much information or too little information, and we're not really getting. I mean, when's the last time anybody's written a letter, a heartfelt letter to somebody, like it was done 30 years ago, 40 years ago? We're still discovering letters that were mailed during World War II. Eventually, sometimes they got stuck in it, right?
In history, they're called primary source documents.
Yeah. And all of a sudden
we
they
come
show
across
up.
them and go, look what this guy wrote.
Yeah.
well, what?
We don't have it anymore.
Well, yes, you
Well,
do.
we
It
do.
depends. What we're talking about is you're talking about a different medium.
True.
People now are using Twitter, using Facebook, using social media, which still has the same content, but it's not snail mail. The only issue that is it's a felony and a federal offense for somebody to go through your mail. It is not, however, going through your email. Anybody can do it. The federal government doesn't even need a warrant to check your email, where they do need it if they check your mail.
Well, it's back to the encryption that we talked about.
But it's just
There's ways of keeping everybody out.
But you do get letters and you do get stuff. It's just a completely different way of doing it.
Yeah, advertising is interesting. I always look at the shit that the junk mail that comes in, still coming in through the post
masses
office.
of it.
It's just still.
It may be junk mail, but it's good business because sooner or later somebody succumbs.
Yeah.
I just had a young friend of mine who's 20, 21, maybe 19. He just got a permit to apply certain pesticides, which means they have to pay you more money here, but it also means you're taking your life in your hands because you don't want to come in contact with some of the things that go down in an agricultural field. Don't
Right.
kill you. But he put the letter up, and it was the picture of the letter on Facebook that had his complete address on it. And I went, don't know that I'd be putting some up there with my home address.
Home address. People just don't seem to have a problem with address, phone number, social security number, driver's license number. I mean, they just keep plopping this stuff into anything. And
Well, it comes down to is people think if it's on Facebook, for example, people think it's private. Everybody assumes that, okay, I've got my friends here and I post it on this. What people don't realize is unless you do the settings, it is not, by the way, default this way on Facebook. Everything you do is viewable
Public.
by everybody.
Right.
What it is you need to teach people that everything you do, at least on the internet, is always public. Because you wouldn't do that if you were in a room full of people. You wouldn't share your social security number, but people do on Facebook. People just don't think.
I don't.
No,
I mean,
well, we know better.
I had somebody that I friended on Facebook that was friends with my girlfriend in high school.
Yeah.
And I said, would you like to have her email address? Yes, I'd love to. I contacted that person, told them what had transpired. Is it okay? And then, may not be private, but I sent it through Facebook in a private message. I wasn't going to say, oh, by the way, here's her email. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Emails are disposable. Email addresses are disposable. I mean, just you don't like one, get it. Except for it's different when you own your own domain and you got your own company going. But you have an email address for a year, change it. I know people that change email addresses every 6 months just because they're tired of the spam. Gmail's, Google and Yahoo made it easy.
How do I know that my domain email wasn't being forwarded to me? Because my spam file went to like 15 things.
Yeah.
No.
When the spam stops, something's up.
Spam. Yeah. The only good part is about reactivating my domain. Maybe I'll get less spam because I've probably been inaccessible for a couple of months, and they think I went away.
It seems to me that once you get locked into some of these spammers, no matter what you do, they never go away. They keep sending it because they don't really care that the mail is being bounced around. It means nothing to them. There's a couple of retailers out there that are somewhat shady that I know of that are just ferocious emailers. And and what they really look for is that you get to the bottom of the crap and it says unsubscribe here, hit this and we'll take you off our list. What it does? It confirms to them that it's your email and they send you more.
See, I've never had that happen.
That is a common.
I've unsubscribed from a lot of emails I've gotten over the years, and usually I never.
Your advantage has been that that's a legitimate email. That's not a true spammer. A true spammer literally will say, if this person has taken the time to unsubscribe, that guarantees me that this is their email address.
The interesting thing, and this is kind of a side thing, is Microsoft has been taking down botnets. They took down one of the world's largest botnets, and spam actually dropped worldwide by like a percentage.
Right, yeah. Well, and there's that Russian guy that was the spam king.
One?
I can't remember what his name is now. Anyway, he got arrested, and his building and full of, I guess, 100 some spam programmers and all that were all taken down, and spam worldwide dropped like in half for like 2 weeks, and other people moved right in and then took right over.
As irritating as it is, the part that you don't think about is if somebody wasn't falling for it, they wouldn't do it.
Isn't that sad? Even to this point, these people are still. How many breast augmentations and penis enlargement emails do you need to get to understand that maybe there's something wrong with this?
It comes down to education. It's like
It's all John's fault.
Well, no,
he's an educator. It's all his fault.
It's a couple of years ago there was the "I love you" virus.
Yeah.
All it is people don't think. It's people automatically assume, okay, if this is email, this is from somebody. I think the correlation is to regular mail. Nobody
The
really
Emperor of
thinks that.
Botswana left you all his money.
Yes, yes. Nigerian scams are just the most. I love the way they're written, though. I will take the time now. Some of them are just eloquent in the way they actually got somebody that knows how to speak English and knows how to write. But it just,
Well,
my darling, I want to talk to you about, and it's just like, oh, they're humorous. I find them funny because I don't fall for them. If you're dumb enough to fall for that scam, so be it. It's like hitting a lottery, You think you get this thing in the mail. It says, "Hey, you won the lottery," and you go, "Wonderful! Send me $2,500, and I'll make sure that you get this $50,000." Oh, I get
on
$25.
the way.
Oh, no
Hey,
problem.
I get
I'm going to
double
do
my
that.
money.
There's a
Done every day.
there's a whole thing of reverse spamming, of getting spammers to do stuff for you. Like somebody got a spammer to carve a bunch of intricate stuff. Another guy got a spammer to get a tattoo. There's a whole group of people dedicated to scamming the spammers.
It's good. Yeah, I know. I've heard about that. It's
Maybe there is a future for me.
Yeah, there we go. Come up with something. Huh?
Because I will tell you that there are times in my life, and you are familiar with some of my very talents, where I had the opportunity, so I con people. I took advantage of otherwise not nice people that steal your money.
Yeah.
And they are very upset when they get conned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they want to know a lot about you if you could con them. There's a point of gullibility with just about anybody in any situation.
Yeah. And back to my what I say every day to just about everybody, question everything. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
It is.
I mean,
hey, look,
you didn't hit the lottery.
$1,000 and you give me 20.
Hey. Yeah. Hey, I mean, come on, guys.
It sounded good.
But it's anyway. So that's hey. What do you think about this North Korean guy?
Kim Jong-un.
Whatever. What do you think about this guy?
Well, it's funny. I had that conversation. I had a kid come up to me after class and ask me, why haven't we addressed this? Well, because it's a very touchy thing as to how much you address it. The guy is probably totally whack.
Oh, yeah.
They do have a rocket on the launching pad right now. If they fire that rocket, it will go kaboom, thanks to us. We have whatever their Patriot Scuds, whatever they're called now. We are ready, right? You know what part of this is, Rob? We've talked about this a little bit. The current generation, including Obama, they don't have the fear of thermonuclear war that you and I do. And
it does have that feeling. Yeah, I agree with you. They don't realize the severity. The only part that gives me any kind of little bit of warm fuzzy is that their rockets have a tendency of blowing up on the pad, so they have a good chance of nuking themselves.
I think politically what we're trying to do is get China to take care of it.
Because
the best thing to do is because China was thankful for us going there because that calmed them down for a little bit. If we play it right, China marches in and says, don't do this, or we're going to do this.
No. China is to stop because we owe them money.
So China
want to see us blown off.
No. Yeah, no. If anybody is going to step in and do something, it's going to be China.
The only thing I've heard China is more afraid of is, I guess I've heard North Korea called the buffer. It's buffering them from the more democratic. That's what I've heard.
God bless Kia and the other South Korean companies and all those wonderful people over there. But if China wanted their stuff, there's not a damn thing in the world we could do about it.
And at the same time, we have some international unrest that's been, and we've talked about it way back when we talked about this, the fact that China and Japan are disputing ownership of islands.
That's right.
Which has been going on, people, for millennia.
Yes,
thousands of years.
And apparently Japan's also devaluing their currency, which is thoroughly pissing off the Chinese at the moment.
Well, because they're floating, but the problem with it is you have to realize that Japan has overrun China 3 times. So the Chinese don't particularly care for them. And The whole reason was the Japanese. Well, and that's another thing. Bakersfield, California, amazingly, has a sister city in Korea. And one of my professors at the university, his job is to keep all the sister city connections in Bakersfield connected.
That's good. Yeah.
And on top of it, he's a mulatto, which it makes it. He's a kind of a strange dude in his 80s. But the thing that the Koreans said that they found most unique about the United States is there's so many different kinds of people.
Right. Right. They're not used to that.
Koreans.
No. Yeah. No. That's yeah. Absolutely. The people from the Asian countries, because they're not used to seeing anything but themselves, they come over to this country and they just go, what? I mean, they haven't seen, a black person. They haven't seen a Hasidic Jew. They haven't seen whatever it may be, right? They
haven't seen this before. That's scary.
Yeah.
I've heard that in the process that if you're not, at least in their country, even if you move over there, you're always be an outsider. So they'll always treat you that way.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, folks, let's look at, you talk about a disparagency. South Korea, where, hey, go to Seoul. You'll be able to do anything with your phone. They have bandwidth there like the 405 freeway once it's finished.
Absolutely.
They build big things that we used to build. There is a very close connection between South Korea and the United States. And that was something that actually our friend Richard Nixon helped to develop, because he wanted to buffer against China.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was buffering the Soviet Union with China, and then he was buffering China with Korea. Nixon, though, at the end of the day, in my opinion, a misguided intellect, was far from. He was terribly bright in international relations. He understood better than good.
Yeah.
So
and probably did more for us. Well, he's the one that actually. He is actually the one that set up the employment quotas. That was Nixon.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the aggression pact we have with South Korea? That if North Korea attacks, we go marching.
Well, Jonathan, it's no different than the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, when John Kennedy got on and said, if a Cuban missile is fired at anyone in the Northern Hemisphere, that means us, or England, or you name it, Bubba, we're going to consider that an act of aggression by the Soviet Union and retaliate. We have these agreements quite a few places.
But but this one doesn't feel as dangerous as that one ended up being.
Well, we were still quite naive at that period of time, about nuclear weapons. Well, I'm going to say that outright, because John and I remember going through the drill of going under your desk and getting away from windows, and the whole idea that you were going to survive a nuclear
blast. And motion
pictures
of bomb tests and things being destroyed.
Because even Kennedy apparently privately said he wish he just got his mouth. Just wish he shut his mouth, because it ended up.
He did. He called their bluff and shut up.
Yeah,
and
he
said,
did.
No, you bring a boat, we're going to stop it, and if it's got stuff, we're going to turn it around.
But I truly believe, from what I've read, that's as close as we ever come to total annihilation of this world.
It was the closest we ever came to thermonuclear.
And I remember, I don't know about you, John, but I remember my parents. I mean, the whole feeling, the whole thing, to explain as a child going through this, the panic that our parents felt, and the possibility of the end of the world and how close we really were. And it was just, we have lived through some amazing times, friend. And that was one of them.
Yeah. It's been, it's been worth the price of admission. I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
But I actually ended with this gentleman. I said, the current administration is being blamed for being inept at everything. So I think they've said about as much as they should say, because we just, I think one thing, whether you consider, Obama does not want us to get involved in another war. Physically, he does not want the United States in another war, and we've been continuously at war since Korea. Okay, that's in our entire lifetime.
Well, Korea's never actually
somebody. ever all that time. What I did say to this young man is, I think there will be a thermonuclear, there will be an atomic event in your future. I hope to God it's not one of the major holders of atomic weapons, and I think it will be a dirty bomb on more of a terrorist level. Radicals will launch it because anybody with any sense does not want to detonate a thermonuclear device of national quality on any. I mean, the Jews are far too close to the Arabs.
Yeah.
The fallout, unless they've got some way, it's the neutron bomb that only kills people and doesn't leave fallout.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ironically enough, the weapon that does go off at some point is probably going to be an old Russian that seemingly went off the books.
Well, yeah, I'm going to end it.
I don't want to speculate on the.
Yeah, we're coming to the end of our hour of interesting and stimulating conversation, and I hate the fact that we're ending on a downer, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? What we've talking about is all true, all possible, and hopefully next week we're going to really work to try to get you involved with the show again. We'll keep pounding away on this, but I want to thank my co-host, John Manajestic, and our producer, John Charney, for joining in on the show. We had another great time, another stimulating hour. Please keep watching, and I hope that the change to 7 o'clock and get you to be able to eat dinner, sit down, watch us for an hour, and then go back to your commercial television, and hopefully we've piqued your interest anyway. So
call us.
Give us a call.
We can do that. Call us.
We'll do that. We'll do it. Anyway, hey, on behalf of everybody here, we want to thank you very much. This is Rob Charney with News 44 TV. We'll see you soon. Hold on.